We are here today to focus on the training topic of the happiness advantage, the post-pandemic happiness advantage, part 2, relational. Take a moment and write that down. Before we dive into the training for today, just a brief reminder of where we've traveled over the last 4 weeks of weekly training roundtables. So on March 1st, we dove into resistance to resilience revisited. On the 8th, we learned about the need for drama theory. On the 15th, we focused on cultivating true worth to create true wealth. And last week, the post-pandemic happiness advantage, part 1, financial. We're also 6 weeks out from our last intuitive plan with the 4-month theme of pay attention and be aware. This also marks 10 weeks until our next intuitive planning day. As Lorna mentioned earlier, next week, the Business Miracles team will be out of office for the spring holidays. When we return, we will have a very special weekly training roundtable with a focus on Happiness Advantage Part 3, Spiritual. Please mark your calendar and be sure to attend, or at least set yourself with a scheduled plan B if you can't necessarily be at that weekly training roundtable when we return from out of office. It's valuable to pay attention and be aware to the path we've been traveling over these last 6 to 4 weeks, with a reminder that all recordings of your weekly training roundtables are in your online learning center, always available to revisit, re-return, or to access the recording for the first time if you weren't able to make a roundtable live. And that your weekly training roundtables are the way to function optimally as a highly sensitive entrepreneur and leader, along with using your leadership track for the how of marketing, the how of advanced marketing, the how of professional leadership, visionary leadership, mindset leadership, self-care leadership, whatever leadership track you might be in. As we look at Happiness Advantage Part 2, Relational, it can feel, perhaps, with everything that's happening right now in the world. We have disruption and revolution in France, similar disruption and revolution in Israel. We have the occurrence in Nashville, Tennessee. We have difficulties in Mexico, and perhaps even things that are more personal happening in your own backyard. Maybe not. Within the midst of the disruptive times that we are living through, it can feel weird to be talking about happiness, but actually not. And here's why. Shawn Achor, who is the author and researcher of Happiness Advantage, as well as Big Potential and Before Happiness, he says that happiness is not about lying to ourselves or turning a blind eye to the negative, but about adjusting our brain so that we see the ways to rise above our circumstances. And I'm going to invite you to write down the second part of that quote, adjusting so that we see the ways to rise above our circumstances. On a recent podcast interview that Shawn Achor gave, he shared a story about meeting Oprah for the first time. He was featured on Super Soul Sunday. They had gone through an entire hour of an interview. And when the interview wrapped and Shawn and Oprah were just casually chatting, as one does, he said to Oprah, "I actually feel really disappointed about this interview because we didn't talk about depression." And in that conversation, Shawn shared that he was actually in the midst of a deep depression during his first years of research on happiness. And Oprah shared her own deep depression for 2 years after a movie that she had sunk so much into personally and financially did not succeed, and she was actually criticized for her part in the production of that movie. So they turned on the cameras and they did a second hour, which you can find easily on YouTube. In that conversation, they shared that success doesn't lead to happiness. However, you can deepen your levels of happiness, especially when happiness doesn't seem like a choice anymore. And I invite you to write that down. You can deepen your levels of happiness when happiness doesn't seem like a choice anymore. It's not limited to race. It's not limited to religion. It's not limited to sex. It simply comes down to human biology and psychology. Shawn and Oprah speak about the value of therapy, especially when one is in the midst of a deep depression. Shawn and Oprah speak about the value of medication, especially when one is in the midst of deep depression, depending on what works best for each individual. And they also speak about 2 significant happiness tools. Please write that down. 2 significant happiness tools. The first, we started speaking about last week when focusing on the happiness advantage, part 1, financial, and that is gratitude. Gratitude that is expressed and tracked consistently, differently, and specifically. Last week, we spoke about using the Business Miracles tool of the daily 5 yays as a way to do exactly that. Many members have begun tracking on the forum for 21 days. It's beautiful, it's amazing, it's inspiring, it's an awesome community wave to ride, and I bow to you. And I started my own re-return to 21 days of yays as well. The second tool is journaling. Research suggests that expressive writing and gratitude journaling can reduce symptoms of depression. For us, as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders, this is where our foundational support of energy management really plays a key role. An energy management tool that we teach and use that supports the research regarding expressive writing and gratitude, reduction symptoms of depression, is the energy management tool of scripting. Studies also link writing privately about stressful events, asking for higher guidance, and capturing thoughts and emotions on paper decreased mental distress. Here in Business Miracles, in the Highly Sensitive Leadership Training Program, that's the energy management tool of auto writing. Research also shows that journaling may create sufficient cognitive diffusion, meaning your ability to look at thoughts rather than being in them. So journaling may create a very sufficient cognitive diffusion to create the separation needed in order to accept our feelings and commit to the changes we are meant to make. For us, that's the energy management tool of the order form to the universe. The research also shows that tracking journaling over time to see a progressive change increases the ability for accessing resilience to then actually be able to make the change. And I'm going to say that one again. Tracking journaling over time to see a progressive change increases the ability for accessing resilience to then actually be able to make the change. For us, that's the energy management tool of the belief transformation tool, the BTT. The happiness advantage also speaks to one specific journal exercise. The exercise goes like this. First, you take 2 minutes a day to think about one positive experience. 2 minutes a day to think about one positive experience. That experience could be from any time, does not need to have happened that day. Then to write down bullet points 3 details from the last 24 hours. So first, you're taking 2 minutes to think about one positive experience. Could be at any time, any experience. First thing that pops into your mind, to think about it for 2 minutes. And then to follow that by writing down 3 bullet point details from the last 24 hours. So it might be for 2 minutes, I'm going to think about that puppy that I had when I was 7. And then I'm going to write down 3 bullet point details from the last 24 hours. I brushed my teeth. I went to the grocery store. I did 10 sit-ups. The details could be big, small, it doesn't matter. Could be about what you wore, what you ate, someone you talked to. What happens is your brain does a scan of your life for something meaningful. That's that one positive experience. And then your brain tries to recollect details, and your brain can't tell the difference between your imagination and your actual experience. Meaning, the imagined recollection of a positive experience and the actual details from the last 24 hours. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So by involving yourself in this exercise, your brain doubles that most meaningful experience. Do this for 21 days in a row, and your brain is a natural pattern maker. Your brain then begins to connect the dots for you, begins to make a new pattern, a new neural pathway. By doing this exercise, suddenly you start seeing more meaning in your day-to-day activities. One moment of meaning, that puppy when you were 7, turns into an entire day of meaning because your brain begins to process it that way. The happiness advantage teaches this as the Tetris Effect. Spoke about this on last weekly training roundtables. The Tetris Effect states, if you view the world through the same pattern for too long, your brain keeps that pattern, even if it's not working for you. This particular writing exercise, 1, meaningful experience, 3, details from the last 24 hours, was used with the MS Society, people suffering with chronic muscular disease. This positive expressive writing for 6 weeks in a row showed that 6 months later, pain medication was able to be dropped by 50% on average. The happiness advantage also states that happiness is a team sport. Write that down. Happiness is a team sport. What does that mean? As you cultivate your own happiness, you are making it easier for others to experience happiness as well. Is that not part of the royal advisor role we've been brought here to be as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders? Prioritizing your happiness directly, positively impacts others. Is that not part of the royal advisor role we've been brought here to be? So why is this of value for us as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders, especially now more than ever? Well, we feel things more deeply. We think about things more deeply. What if, rather than these strengths being used to go into the shadows of overprotection, judgment of self, judgment of others, or the need for drama, what if we were using these strengths to support our own happiness and then therefore the happiness of others? Is that not part of the royal advisor role we've been brought here to be? In the book, Different, The Highly Sensitive Leadership Revolution by me and other contributing authors in the Business Miracles community, page 61, as part of Expanded Mindset. If you are looking to have a different experience, you start by changing your thoughts and beliefs to support you in acting differently to bring about the different experience. You cannot expect to think the way that you've always thought, believe what you've always believed, behave the way you've always behaved, and experience something different. The Tetris Effect. If you view the world through the same pattern for too long, your brain keeps that pattern, even if it's not working for you. Yet, we have the power of divine free will, which means at any moment, at any time, you can make the choice to do it differently. The post-pandemic happiness advantage, part 2, relational. You, your happiness, others, their happiness, how you're here. You've been brought here as a highly sensitive to be a royal advisor to others, as an entrepreneur and as a leader. Breath in and let it out.